Welcome back to Mcoc All Bundy Rules. Continuing on our guide to get you to Uncollected. Here is 5.2.4. So, Act 5, Chapter 2, Quest 4. This is a pretty long path, by the way. Again, I'm keeping it only with 4 stars. We got role reversal, meaning relationships classes are reversed. The masochism. This one could be a little tricky for a lot of you. Each time you get a debuff, they are going to shrug it off and heal. So watch when I try to parry, it was shrugged off and got regeneration. You see that gray timer up there? Once that gray timer is still up, then the debuffs won't be shrugged off. Meaning you saw me, my first parry attempt failed and he healed. My second parry attempt while the timer was still up worked. There is no timer now, which means the next debuff inflicted on him will be shrugged off and he will heal. I want to make sure this is clear because it's going to cause you some issues. People start to get hung up. This is one of the more first kind of tricky nodes that a lot of people deal with in their quest to Uncollected. I know a lot of people get stuck here, so I'm going to emphasize that a lot along the way to help you. We will see how I'm fighting Yellow Jacket similar. We see me fight him quite a bit, it seems like, in Act 5 so far, between 5.1 and 5.2. Then again, when Act 5 was released, there wasn't nearly as many champs then, so it feels like they get kind of repetitive. When I see him at 1 bar of power, I try to keep a step back just in case once he launches that, because if I'm not a step back, I'll get clipped when I try to next. Going to continue working our way up. And I want to show you again on these debuffs. So a big thing here is there's pros and cons. I'm going to show you different ways. I'm going to use some champs that don't do many debuffs, but keep in mind when you do a parry, that is a debuff that's done. So remember that. And I'll use some champs like Wolverine who will do a lot of debuffs on bleed because there's different styles here. So watch over here. Try to do a parry. I don't even think the parry went through, but you see the bleed. The bleed caused the regeneration and it caused the timer to go. While the timer is up, I can inflict debuffs. It's not until the timer ends can I not inflict debuffs. So you'll see while the timer is up, I'm able to parry. So if you enjoy doing parry style play, which a lot of players, especially at this level, are going to do very frequently, wait until the timer is up. The amount that they heal on the debuffs is not that high, which means if you just purposefully inflict debuffs and heal them, it's not good. It might make the fight a tiny bit longer, but not that bad. In later content, that strategy can be pretty counterproductive because they have much larger health pools. 5% in a health pool of like 300,000 or 400,000 is way more health being healed than say 5% of like 40,000 or 50,000 health pools. Big difference. Continuing to dex out, we see the bleed. So Wolverine can be good, or even Nick Furious can work because I'm keeping the debuffs going. Because as they attack, they keep doing the debuffs really frequently, which means while the timer is up, I'm able to parry. It makes it a lot more manageable and easier for the most part, to where you don't have to only rely on things like intercepting or bait out the hit, some bait special counters, those type of strategies, which I do have a video on, by the way, if you're not too sure what I'm referring to, on some of my different tips and strategy playlist. If you've seen different play styles, I have different tips videos on most different play styles, and they're always good to check it out if you're not sure what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, or how to do it. Very helpful playlist for you along the way. I accidentally clicked the button to show the boost. I don't have any boosts going on. However, I just accidentally had a little finger slip. I am going to move into now Rogue. So she got me through a lot of content. Remember when she first came out, she felt like a cheat code back then for content, the way she works. Don't use her much anymore in later game content. Well, I don't even know if I have her as a higher star champ, but even if I did, her damage just isn't that high for 500,000 health pools in later content. But her damage is great for health pools like this. So I'm going to be using her a bit. She is very sustainable. You can use those S1s to get heal, lifesteal, and we will be able to also do some power control. So she's very helpful here especially in nodes where you might be losing the health. You have a lot of fights. Some of these paths are very long, a lot of fights. So having some sustainable champs like Hero Wolverine can make it easier for me along the way. And I'm continuing to hit Colossus as I got him back there in the corner. I would like to bait out that special. Continue to hit. There is no timer, which means the next debuff is going to be a shrugged off and heal. So I'm trying to avoid parrying right now for the most part. I am taking advantage of healing, so I'm trying to bait things out. When I'm trying to avoid parrying, I'm either looking for intercepts. I'll hit into the block a lot, try to wait for a chance for them to open up, or I'll try to bait out those specials or heavies. If you stay up close and personal with holding your block, it's very often they'll throw a heavy, and I have a video on that technique as well. Or if you have your block open while they're at a special, it's more likely to throw it to bait it. Again, I have a video on that as well that kind of covers that. Looking at this Rogue and Punisher, and we see again, as I mentioned in the other ones in 5.2, that the class relations are switched, so a mutant actually has a disadvantage in this fight. A skill would have an advantage, and that's something I mentioned in the previous ones as far as the nodes, but don't think I'd emphasize it quite yet on here. Hopefully you're just watching each of my quest walkthroughs one by one, as sometimes they do kind of build off each other. And so I'm just bringing Angela, who would have no impact based on the class relation opposites, doing some hits. Again, I'm watching out for debuffs. I got him at 2 bars of power, so I am going to try to get him baited pretty soon. And we see the Punisher going in on me. Had to bait out the S2, finally got it out. Been enjoying Angela a lot. She's been really good in these, even as a 4-star, as in these Act 5 God Uncollected videos I've been doing for y'all. Been very useful and one of my main go-tos for sure. And I could try to dex out that S1, S2, I'm not even going to try, but at this point, with her regeneration, sustainability, I figure, I'll just take this, not doing that much block damage. Therefore, no need to get too risky on simple stuff, but he is throwing a lot of those S1s, isn't he? His power seems to be going so dang quick. And got him down to 18%. Bait out that heavy. Do some slicing and dicing. Whip out that S3. Chugga chugga. There we go. Hit him with that little axe thingy majiggy. I see an S2, so I'm looking at trying to bait it out. But there we go. I was kind of debating if I want to finish him off or bait it out. I wasn't 100% sure if I would do enough damage to finish. I didn't want to risk pushing him to an S3, and plus there is the endured factor. So I want the safe approach, thankfully, since the endured did trigger, and I gotta wait for that to end, and now after it ends, I can go ahead and do that. Intercept him with the sword to the forehead. Be cool if they added some like Mortal Kombat brutality stuff on here. Brutality, and kind of like slice him in half. Then again, it probably wouldn't be same age range mobile game then, would it, if it had that stuff? I will have to put in a little fatality code. Okay, so I got Rogue going on. My mutant against the tech would normally be a class disadvantage. However, with these nodes, she's actually got the class advantage based on that. Trying to be careful on the S1 over there. Sometimes if you're like trying to finish the combo too close, you might get clipped a little bit. So kind of taking a step back, making sure I get some clean dexting going on. I'll be using the S1s in order to keep some little heal sustainability with her. If needed, I'll use S2s for a little more damage and some power control as needed. I do like Rogue. I would love to see her just give maybe a minor attack increase buff, and I would love using her again. She did get me through a lot of content early in the days, and she's going to be getting me through some content here in Act 5 as well. Very useful. And there we go. Easy fight on the Iron Patriot. Looking on making my way to the portal. Time to teleport. Whoa, teleportation. Alrighty. Add some drama to a dramaless need effect. And let us get up to this Iron Man OG. I will say I do enjoy doing like Act 5 because it's all old school, rather simple defenders with the exception of a few buffed ones. Unlike newer content that has all those pain in the rear crazy 4-paragraph long ability reads and all that kind of stuff on these newer champs. We saw that first attempt at a parry, Got shrugged off, give him regeneration, but it did start the timer. And again, as a reminder, add that debuff, that first debuff when the timer is up, is going to be ignored and give him a regeneration. However, the next one after that, well, as long as the timer is up, will go ahead and work. Once the timer ends, then the same repeat effect going on. You got that regeneration from the debuff. And got some life still going on. Dexed out that S1. Doing some damage. Dex and trying to dex out that S1. He's getting his armor up. He's got the regeneration going on. I go ahead and give him a nice uppercut he ran into. Get it alive. Still give me some sustainability. Dex me some S1 goodness. 5%. Do some intercepting. Look at that. You go, Rogue. You showed that little Iron Man how you roll. Now we got ourselves a yellow jacket. Bombardment. Looking at who we're going to go here. And yellow jacket. Going to go ahead and use the Wolverine. To the debuff, so I got the timer going, so I can go ahead and parry while that is going on. But I saw a nice clean intercept. Taking a step back on that S1 while I'm trying to bait the S1. Doesn't seem to want to do it. And I cannot get that S1 out here. So I go ahead and hit into the block a little bit. He is being stingent, as we see normally. Pretty good at baiting those special. Oh, I'm so worried about trying to bait out the special. I just took a whole bunch of hits. Now I finally get out the S2. Meanwhile, where I'm down to 14% and 9% and cornered. Well, this ain't good. This fight started off pretty bad, mainly just because I could not get that intercept going. Get that bait going out. I probably should have just given up earlier than I did and just push him to the S2. I get worried about pushing him to an S2 because if I'm too close when he launches the S1, I'm going to get clipped. And at least I am getting some damage done, considering I start off this fight really bad. I'm hoping that regeneration could heal me up enough, but unfortunately my regeneration is just not doing much of anything with the Wolverine. Down to 3%, the poison is still kicking in. Do whatever last hits I can. Got another regeneration, but I took a hit right to the jaws. I was kind of tap dancing my way through that. Ugly fight, but I got him halfway down. A little annoyed with that, but try to shake that off as I go into my Angela. Bait out that heavy. Do some sword swapping. And I just got intercepted. What in the... Okay, so the AI on this fight is not doing me any favors. Is it me? Is it... I don't know. But this fight, there is no reason I should have lost 2 champs on a yellow jacket of all things. I mean, come on. In these chapter 5 walkthroughs, how many times have you seen me completely smackety lab destroy Yellow Jackets? It's a fairly easy defender, so the fact that this is going the way it has is a bit frustrating. But that's okay. Get my stuff together, bait out this S1, and I got clipped. Whoa. Oh. And I just lost my 3rd champ on Yellow Jacket. So this is a good example of how not to fight Yellow Jacket. Everything you were seeing me doing in this fight, do the exact opposite. How's that? Watch any of my other many Yellow Jacket fights in Act 5, guided to Uncollected. But that's okay. Occasionally we'll just have a bad fight. We'll just have a bad day every once in a while. Between some weird AI, but the AI is just not doing what I'm normally expecting it to do in some cases. Especially light intercepted me. Like, come on. So when does AI master light intercepting? What kind of nonsense was that? That's okay. Got to be careful now. I have lost 3 champs. I'm down to 2 champs, and I still got like half a path left, I think. So this is looking not too pretty for me. Not to mention a bit humbling. Getting completely decimated by a Yellow Jacket. Ugh. Well, that fight's finally over. As I'm down to 2 techs, which is automatically going to be a class disadvantage, I might add. Even though it shows the error up, it's technically class disadvantage based on the node. So let's break out my vision and try to shrug off that last fight. see what we could do here. I still got a decent amount of fights left before I get to the boss, so trying to get through with what I got as I take a heavy. Can I just do a do-over on these last two fights between the Yellow Jacket and that heavy on that Deadpool X-Force? Oh yeah, you guys. So now that changes how I'm going to be using because I have recoil up, so I can't even really use specials too much or very sparingly right now. As doesn't matter because I took another heavy and I lost my vision immediately. Well, I don't know what's going on with these two fights right here. Well, some of horrible play at its finest. If this was a tutorial guide on how to suck, I would have probably 1 billion views on here. But considering I'm trying to get you to Uncollected, just learn from some of the mistakes happening. Some of this, keep in mind, the game's been super bugged. I've got weird stuff going on right now. Some of it's definitely me, but I think some of it might be the game as well. But it happens to all of us. The good thing about these is I don't try to get perfection. I don't try to get style points. I'm not doing these videos for my ego. I'm doing these to help you get through stuff. So we will learn together. As I make mistakes, you will learn what mistakes not to make. Do what I do that works. What I did that didn't work, avoid it. How's that sound? Lessons learned. We get through it. And the biggest thing here, if I can recover, I've lost 4 champs in 2 fights, and I still got a lot of paths left. If I can recover from that, well, guess what? That means you are going to rock through this like nothing. Because I just got to tighten up my game. I've been sloppy, I've been messy, I've been careless. But you know what? All I got left is 1 Ultron at 72%. But you know what? That is all we need. That's all we need to get this done. We're going to get through it. We're going to bait out that S2. We're going to smack around that Deadpool X-Force and boom, down. Who cares? I've lost almost my entire team. That does not matter at this stage. We smile, we move on as we look at what we got ahead. And next up, being a war machine. And normally, wouldn't be too worried about a war machine, but I am worried about his S1 block damage. I only got so much to work with right now. Thanks to my own doing, to see how my power went up to full. I took a little break in between fights, which I really needed, by the way, as you saw how bad those last 2 fights went for. Let my power get back up so I could finish up this path. My goal is going to be try to push War Machine to S2. Because I'm not even going to try to mess around dexing with that S1. That will get me way more damage than I can afford to give. S2 is a lot easier. As I say that, I didn't dex. I swear I dex. It just didn't work. I will blame the dex bug for that one. Anyway, I was talking about avoiding block damage, like we're seeing right there. At least that S1 didn't do too much block damage. Didn't do much block damage on me, so that is a positive thing. Getting a little evading going on. I'm going to go ahead and, again, got to worry about... You know, if I just got intercepted. Oh, this is my last champ. I just got, he decked me and hit me, didn't intercept me. Some ninja style. Bad time for that. So in desperation, I launched my S3, try to recover, figure out what in the world has been going on in these fights, because I ain't got no one left. Thankfully, Ultron can make a mistake. I got my self-repair activated. That pushed me back up to over 50. Make that over 60% health. So that's why I was confident. Even though Ultron is my last, I'm glad it was him because he's got the sustainability. He's got those regenerations each fight. And I can make mistakes like that, taking some S1s. As I don't know why I tried to dex that. I know not to try to dex that. But just somewhere in the instinct just kind of kicked in. The good news is I got War Machine down to 50%. The bad news is I'm under 50%. And this is my last champ. But we're going to recover. Yes, we're going to stay optimistic. Here's that S2. This time I dexed that S2 correctly. I did give him some regeneration on the parry. But let's do some uppercut. Then let's work out onto my S2 is going to be the goal. Although I'm trying to get things going with him. Trying to find a clean shot. Trying not to make any more mistakes. Trying to tighten up my game. Because my game has been slop. I'll just go ahead and take those hits. Do some hits. So I'm looking at my Ultron at 33% health. Took another hit. Went down again processing. So I got my next regeneration. Get over 25%. Again, those little regenerations are being game saving at this point. Do a little knee to the head. Just got to finish off this fight. I got back to 46%. So now what I'm looking at is normally I don't use any items on these kind of things, but I got one champ left. I want to get you through on this nodes, on these quests, over to Uncollected. If I use a small health, that will give me over 50%. 50% health will be key on Ultron because that will give me an extra regeneration activated. So I have like tons of these overflow. In fact, I just sold a bunch that were expiring. So I'm just going to use a couple. I'm going to use 2 level 2 health potions. That puts me well over 50%. And that's going to give me a free extra regeneration. That'll put me at, I probably only needed 1 of those level 2 health potions. Actually, because I forget these are very low health champs. So it didn't take very much. And here we go, fighting this Hulk. Looking at my Ultron and little decks, and we see him getting some self-repair. That is why I used that little bit of health potion to get me over the 50%, because I knew if I took a little bit of clip damage or something, it would boost me way up. See how that made a massive difference. So a well-timed health potion can make a huge difference and should put me in a pretty good, as long as I don't make any more silly mistakes. I made enough mistakes in this quest to last a long time. So as long as I don't make anything more too detrimental, I should be good to go. On Hulk, I like to prefer to try to push them to S2 and then bait those out as much as possible, just because I prefer those like close-up dexing, those ones, more than I like the range attacks. Especially range attacks have all variation of speeds, and sometimes I get my speeds confused. So that was good. Did my S3 after that, and now I'm doing well. We see a Hulk smash, but I'm the one smashing that Hulk. As soon as his Hulk smash came up, all he did was get smashed. I think that Hulk got confused on what Hulk smash is supposed to be. So thankfully, I've only got one more fight left before the boss, which, looking at my roster, you know why I'm saying thankfully, right? Okay, pretty decimated. No intention on using any revives here. Also not using or any intention of using any boosts here as well. Haven't used boosts in any of my walkthroughs of Chapter 5 as of yet. I might change that when I hit the Collector, though, as fair warning, because the Collector boss is infamously known as a massive, ridiculous design unit grab. So I might take a precaution there, but in the meantime, no need to use it before that. I'm doing decent on Loki. Ultron has been doing extremely well for me, as he got stranded as my last line of completing this quest without revives. His regenerations have been super key. He got a really nice buff. I have a nice champ tutorial on him. It has been a bit, actually, I don't think I've even used Ultron, honestly, since my tutorial, so I am a little rusty on him. Sometimes there's so many tutorials or so many champs and abilities get him a little confused, so I've been kind of backtracking, thinking about on certain things of using, but then again, at least the key things are pretty simple on him. Here on Loki, I am as much as possible trying to push him to the S2 and baiting that out, again, for the same reason I try to minimize those projectile attacks if I can, and the S2 is super easy, even though it's unblockable, it's super easy to dex. Thankfully, we're on this boss. I only got one champ left, at about half health. We see Limber, so each time a stun, but stun hasn't been very useful here anyways. Playground Caltrops is a big one. Every time I dash back, I'm going to cause bleed, so you really want a bleed champ. And then you see some combo me. Those other ones, I don't even think they have much need here, at least nothing I'm paying much attention to. The main one I'm worried about are the normal nodes we've been doing for the rest of the global nodes, including class advantage. I technically have a class disadvantage here based on that. We're still looking at every time I apply a debuff, that is going to cause the regeneration and it being shrugged off. But the big thing here too is we got to look at is every time I dash back, it causes a bleed. Ultron is bleed immune. You want a bleed immune champ here. If you don't, you can't dash back, you can't dex. Well, you can, but it's going to become a brutal, ugly fight. So make sure you have at least 1 or 2 bleed immune champs. You'll notice I had both Vision and Ultron on my team for this quest because I wanted 2 bleed immune champs just in case I messed up and needed a backup. I messed up long ago in the path and we've been left with Ultron, but I did save Ultron for last, knowing he was sustainable with his regeneration heals, and because I know I needed a bleed immunity champ for this boss fight. Otherwise, I would just bleed out. So that will be some of the strategies and thought process here. Otherwise, Storm is pretty easy. Nothing much going on. We do see if you're going to try to keep doing parries, they're going to run down in time. But with the other global nodes already, parries and stun is not the best route to do it anyways. So I don't foresee that being too much of an issue. I'm continuing the main strategy I've used for a big chunk of this fight, which is intercepting here and there when clean as much as possible, and baiting out and punishing either special attacks or heavies. For me, that has been key on here, and it's something I will continue to do as much as possible. One big thing though on Ultron too is he does cause those bleed debuffs, which in the same time causes that timer to go up, so I can do a little bit more stunning if need be. Thankfully, this boss fight is an Act 5 boss fight and not like some of the later content where the boss fights have so many weirder nodes on them like in chapter 6 or 7, and we got it clean. So well, I can't call this, the boss fight was clean. The path itself was horrible, especially those 2 fights where I lost 4 champs in 2 what should have been simple fights. So a little bit of ugliness there, but it's okay to have a little bit of ugliness at times. It doesn't have to be perfect, nor do I ever try for perfection. I just try to get it done, get the results, help you get what you need, which in this case is getting completion to get that Uncollected title. Don't forget to click the top left icon, subscribe to Mcoc All Bundy Rules, turn those notifications on. Remember, I got a little something for everyone. Check my playlist, champ tutorials, walkthroughs, tips and strategy, all kinds of good stuff.